welcome to this Feedinfo Perspectives video on how to culture and identify true innovation in the animal nutrition industry. I am Ollie Theocaris, Head of Perspectives Content for Feedinfo. Today, I am speaking to David Bravo, who is the Director for Strategic Innovation and Technology Scouting at Land O'Lakes, and their animal nutrition brand, PMI, are supporting this video today. So Land O'Lakes and PMI have come on a real journey in terms of their approach to innovation. With David at the helm, they have changed the way they develop products and solutions. So we're really very lucky to have them with us today to talk through their journey, as well as what this has meant for their business and their Supplant phytogenic platform as well. Hello, David. Thank you for joining me today. So to start, it would be great if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Land O'Lakes.
Thank you, Olympia. I'm very happy and flattered that you selected me for that interview, so thank you very much. So I'm David, David, as you perfectly say in French. I am an animal nutrition and feed industry enthusiast, first of all. I have expertise in nutrition and physiology. I have worked as a scientist in the industry for over 20 years. More recently, I obtained a degree from Harvard Business School, and this has projected me into the business and strategic aspects of a company, including strategic partnership and the innovation function. In 2018, I joined Land O'Lakes, as you said, as Director for Strategic Innovation and Technology Scouting. And there is a clear misunderstanding and vagueness about innovation in our industry, so my title may not be self-speaking. My activity doesn't involve R&D. It involves the building of organizational capabilities to allow a company actively and methodically explore new avenues for business. This encompasses innovation platforms and governance within the company, as well as scouting for strategic partners and mutually beneficial relationships that will help propel the company to the next level.
Thank you for that overview. You are clearly excellently placed to talk to us about innovation, which is our theme for the interview today. So I want to start by getting your opinion on the way the industry innovates. Do you think the animal nutrition and feed industry needs to start approaching innovation in a different way?
Yes, Olympia, yes. I believe that we need to approach innovation in a different way in our industry. First of all, the challenge. It is sad to see that we, the people of the 21st century, have forgotten that food security is the very foundation of human civilization. And the world population is doubling, the quantity of food will also need to double, and it is predicted that as food sources become limited, serious global and regional tensions will develop, and animal and agricultural production will take center stage in shaping international relationships. So no surprisingly, global food security is ranked as one of the most critical challenges facing our mankind, and this demands a revolution driven by innovation. And obviously in this context, the animal nutrition and feed industry plays a critical role, but we also need real and true innovation. And the reality is that there is a lot of confusion in the way people, and specifically leaders and managers in our industry, use the word innovation. Today, most companies are solidly focusing on getting better and better at what they already do. They need to improve their portfolio continuously and incrementally, and this generates improvements that progressively people have come to call innovation, to a point where there is a confusion between improvement of the existing portfolio of a company and true innovation. Improving the portfolio of a company is the role of the R&D group, the research and development group. And this explains why leaders and managers consider that innovation equal R&D. If their company already has an R&D group, they consider that they have strategized innovation and they stop there. It ends with a situation where innovation has become a buzzword. Everybody, leaders and managers, think they have strategized the function of innovation, although they have not. So Olympia, I have a question for you. Have you watched the movie Marguerite? It's a French movie, a 2015 French drama movie inspired by the life of the American Florence Foster Jenkins. The main character. So that's a very good movie. It was actually It was adapted. Funnily, it's about an American lady. It was first created in France and then obviously done in the US again. But the French one is really a very delicate movie. And the message of that movie is very interesting. The main character, Marguerite, is a socialite, and she's an aspiring opera singer who believes she has a beautiful voice. For years, everybody in her environment, family, friends, employees, let her believe she has a beautiful voice and she sings outstanding opera performances. And during most of her life, Marguerite will never face any reality check. The movie ends with a brutal wake-up call. Because she was certain and overconfident of her singing talents, Marguerite performed in public and the audience mocked her for her very poor singing ability, which of course was a shock to her. So I believe that this is where we are as far as innovation is concerned in our industry. Most companies are in a Marguerite syndrome, and most of us are in a Marguerite syndrome. But true innovation, just like opera singing, doesn't respond to self-conviction. And interestingly, in the last 2 years, other people, other groups, and other innovation scientists have referred to this using the word innovation theater or even innovation circus.
I think you've made some really interesting points there. I hear from people across the industry who are always saying, companies are using the word innovation a little bit too lightly in a lot of instances. And, I'm probably a bit guilty of it myself. So what are your suggestions here? What can be done to change this approach?
So there are two things that, in my opinion, are critical for changing the way our industry conceptualizes and approaches innovation. First, we know it, our industry is growing steadily but slowly, and the level of challenges that we are facing is making that industry more and more complex and more complex than ever. So we need innovation, but we need real innovation, the ones that shape and change markets and create new avenues for growth and development and progress, and not only incremental ameliorations of what already exists. So in such contexts, not only must companies develop their existing business by continuously improving it, but they also need to methodically explore new avenues for growth and development and create the new organizational capabilities that will allow this exploration. So this duality between exploitation of what you do and exploration of future was coined years ago by innovation scientists such as O'Reilly and Mike Tushman as the ambidexterity agenda. An ambidextrous person is someone who is able to write with both hands. The same, what Tushman and O'Reilly said is companies need to be able to exploit what they do, their current models, but they also need to methodically create an exploration agenda. And doing both is the ambidexterity challenge. And I believe that only if enough companies of the same industry engage in this ambidexterity challenge will an industry truly and radically innovate. And this is the type of changes of innovation that I believe the animal feed, nutrition and feed industry requires. The second thing that we need to change is that once companies have exploration agenda in place, leaders and managers should appreciate that innovation is not equivalent to R&D. R&D, we also call it product development, and innovation are two profoundly different functions. So first, the R&D and product development function, as I already said, continuously improves the existing offer and portfolio. It is present in all companies. It is a critical function that, together with marketing and sales, ensure that the current clientele and current markets are satisfied. They exploit the existing business. And I want to add that rarely, to my knowledge, would an R&D group explore radically different ways or different businesses just because governance processes, as well as incentives, are focusing on improving what companies do, not exploring new ways. And performing this exploration is the role of the innovation function. I do not see this function much developed in companies of our industry. It is a strategic function that responds to leadership vision and creates new capabilities that will empower the exploration agenda of the company. And these two functions are so different that they require people with different skill sets.
I do agree with what you say there. I think that you're absolutely right. In our industry, we do really lump innovation together with product development. And I think what you're saying makes perfect sense. So, how can we go about culturing real innovation in an organization? What are your thoughts there?
So it's a very interesting question. There are so many things a company can do to promote innovation and the adequate culture. There is no blueprint, though. There are some guidelines, and there are some things that I have been using, and these are some of my thoughts. Uh, Actually, the first thing I would say to answer your question is what will not culture innovation. And I have heard things like, okay, we have to become innovative. We need to change our culture. We will organize trainings to change our culture into an innovation prone culture. To me, changing a company culture and making it prone to innovation is not something that can be changed without major work on the company itself. People often refer to the company culture as the shadow of the company. And truly, we can't change our shadow if we don't change our body. If we want to change our shadow, we have to work on our body, obviously. And it's not because we make some superficial change that we will change our shadow. And especially for innovation culture, if the culture in place is not prone to innovation, then it means that it reflects, just like the shadow, that the current processes, the governance, and the management of that company at that moment are not facilitating innovation. So in this context, organizing training sessions will be cosmetic at best. Culturing innovation, in my opinion, starts with leadership. Leadership must understand the two things we already discussed today. First, innovation and R&D are different functions. Second, companies need to engage with ambidexterity by keeping improving their current business with the help of their R&D and creating an exploration agenda to explore new ways and new businesses and build up the corresponding organizational capabilities. And this is when they need the innovation function. And the leadership of the company needs to embody this. And that will be the first step to culturing innovation in that company. Then if you want a culture of innovation in your company, start the work by giving it, your company or yourself, an innovation strategy. So before COVID or now with our virtual meetings, during fairs, congresses, industry meeting, I met with people who are very adamant in innovation, saying that innovation is the cornerstone of their company. And in such cases, I sometimes ask, very good, what's your innovation strategy in 2 sentences? And most of the time, I don't get a clear answer. And it's sad because I believe that providing a simple but real innovation strategy and developing the corresponding power narrative allows people of the company embody that strategy, understand it, make objectives, and cultivate the appropriate culture. Then I personally think that lack of true reciprocal cooperation is also one of the root causes for lack of innovation. Nowadays, people confuse cooperation with interactions and email exchanges. Um, Also, we have inherited a way of working that is very consecutive and separated. Like one group works, then passes the work to another group, and so on. And although there may be interactions, the true reciprocal cooperation is often lost. Instead, I believe that culturing innovation imposes to stimulate recursive ways of cooperating. And finally, I also think that, and that's not something people think about when they think about culture, innovation culture, but I really think that culturing innovation also requires a very good innovation governance that is transparent, integrative, inclusive, and dynamic. This is a difficult challenge, but it is feasible.